over here. So if you keep on practicing now and then, the programming skills, that is the syntax, you will get stronger towards the syntax of that particular language. And at the same time, your logical thinking would have speeded up. Okay, so whenever you look into a question, it will be easy for you to understand that question, analyze it, and you will get a visual appearance of what you can actually do in solving that particular problem. So this logical thinking will actually improvise if you get into practice of more number of programs. Okay, so I am discussing one or two programs inside this 1 hour theory session, and in your laboratory session you are working out three three problems, so sometimes five problems. Okay, but still, if you put little bit effort and work out or practice programs in different forums or portals like Geeks for Geeks, uh, Hacker Rank, Hacker Earth, Lead Code, you have many platforms for that purpose. Okay, so in your internet you have all these kinds of websites which will support to improvise your programming skills. So if you are really interested, you can proceed practicing in that kind of forums too, so that your programming skills from both the perspective, that is in the way of thinking of solving a problem, as well as the syntax of that particular programming language, which will become easier for you to work out, though you struggle at the earlier stage. Okay, so why we struggle? Two cases: one, how we have to work out with logics, and second is syntax of that particular language. So both suffering can be given out if you are practicing more in different forums, or even if you can take a own problem statement, very simple problem statement, and you can try it solve you can try to solve it in your Python, ideally, that you have installed in your system. Okay, so now I will move on with today's session. So hope I am presenting. Okay, so the topic that we're going to discuss in today's session, I can put it in simple words. If you speak about a term called as data structure, or if you speak about a sequence, okay. So when I use the English word called as sequence, sequence actually means a collection of elements. Or if I say my sequence is a string, okay, I can say it is going to be a collection of characters. Okay, so whatever sequence that we have come across till now, okay, we have not seen them together into a single container. Okay, so now when we want to group a set of elements and place them into a container, and we want to perform different kinds of operations over that container, okay, actually this kind of concept in programming languages or in computer science is generally termed as data structure. So you have a collection of data. For example, if you take your entire class, okay, so if you take your entire class, you have 60 students inside your class. Each and every student will be given a roll number. Okay, so all the 60 roll numbers are being coming under this group called as roll number. So I know they belong to a single group called as roll number. Then obviously they have to be related with each other. So roll number 1 is there, 1 will be followed by 2, 2 will be followed by 3. If 4 is being left out, then 3 should be followed by 5. So all these kind of things can be associated with this one single group called as roll number. So if I want to if I have a list of elements, okay, and that list of elements are related with each other in some means, if that is going to be the case, then I have to represent them as a single entity. Okay, I want to represent them as a single entity. I don't want 1 to be a separate entity, 2 to be a separate entity, 3 to be a separate entity. They are the 3 roll numbers of a particular class. So obviously they are related with each other because they are inside one particular class. Okay, so they represent a single entity. So if I want to work over single entity, okay, if I have a collection of data, so and I want to organize my data, I want to group my data, and then I want to perform some operations over my data. Okay, if you come across different scenarios across the real world domains or applications, Obviously you will come across these kind of scenarios where you have a group of elements which has to be represented within a single container. I gave you one example: classroom, final CSE A is one classroom. So roll number 1 to 60 get into that particular classroom. So roll number 61 is not belonging to that classroom. So it moves on to the next classroom. So 1 to 60 alone has been grouped, should be grouped into one single container, that is final CSE A. Okay. So we need to represent a group of elements as a single entity. So for that purpose, we get into the concept called as data structure. So whenever you want to group a set of elements or data as a single entity, and if you want to perform operations over the collections of data, then you get into the concept of data structure. So in this complete week, that is from today till Saturday, we are going to learn about different data structures, okay, which can be different data structures, or I can say them as collection, or I can also refer them as sequence. Okay, different sequence, different collections, different data structures which are a part of this language called as Python. Okay, so there are a set of data structures that we have to, basic data structures that we have to learn with respect to Python. So in today's class, we will be discussing about the first data structure that has been called as list. Okay, so list is a data structure that represents a sequence of elements, okay, which can belong to different data types. So under list, we will be discussing about how to create a list. Okay, so the point that I want to emphasize over here is from today till next Monday, you're going to learn about different data structures in Python. Okay, so when I use the term data structure, it actually means collection of items. Okay, so if there is going to be a collection of items or elements or data, I can use the term data, I can use the term elements, I can use the term items over here. So how does this data structure look like? So what kind of elements can be used inside this data structure? So how the elements actually act, what kind of operations can be performed over this data structures? So we will be learning the same kind of stuff for all these data structures. So in today's class, we are going to discuss about the first data structure, which has been called as list. Okay, so we will start one by one. So as per my definition, list is actually a data structure in Python which is used to store sequence of elements of various types. So the first point that you have to understand with respect to list is you can store various types into this list. When I say various types, okay, the first element can be an integer, the second element can be a float value, the third element again can be an integer, the fourth element can be a string. Okay, so all types of data can fit into one single list. Okay, so this is the first point that you have to understand with respect to list. Second point is, what is the uh, operator that we actually use to represent a list? So square brackets are used to represent the list data structure. So these are the points that you have to keep in mind. Whenever I say list, it implies list can store, a single list can store different types of data. Okay, so how do I represent a list? Using square brackets. So only here itself I have used the square bracket to represent a list. And third, I say lists are mutable. Okay, so mutable is also a terminology that we're going to see over here. So mutable actually means, it's a very simple meaning. When I say a particular data structure is mutable, it actually means the elements in that list can be modified. Okay, for example, I'm having a list in which I have uh, I have stored the first element to be 1. Okay, later sometime if I want to change that element to 2, if it is possible, then that data structure is called as mutable data structure. Hope I am clear. So if it is possible for you to modify your element, then you can say that data structure is mutable. So list is actually mutable. A particular element can be modified from time to time. You can modify an element present in a list. Okay, so next point that you have to understand with respect to list is, I said whenever I say data structure is going to be a collection of elements. Okay, so in a list, the items will be separated by commas. Okay, so I have to open a square bracket. So generally I will write a list like this. Okay, open a square bracket, this is my first element, then I put a comma, then I have to write my second element, then this is my third element, 3.14, it's a float value, then I can write my fourth element. For example, it's going to be a string. Okay, so all the items will be separated by commas. Okay, so this makes a makes up a list. Okay, so all the items in the list are separated by commas, and if I want to access, okay, element by element, that is possible in list, okay, through this through their index. I can access the list element through their index. So we will be discussing all these in our future uh, timing. So in this class itself, we will be discussing. So these are the points that you have to keep in mind whenever you think about this list data structure. So list data structure can store various types of data inside it. Okay, first point, they are represented by square bracket. List are mutable. Okay, and the elements are separated by commas. You can access them by indexing. And final point is list are ordered. When I say list are ordered, it actually means in what order I'm giving the elements, I can track them in the same order. Okay, so for example, if you take, I'm showing you an example over here. So 1 comma 2 comma 3.14 comma hello. Okay, so this is the representation of a list. So here if you see, there are four items in the list. Okay, the items are of different data type. The first two items are of integer, second one is of, third one is of float, and fourth one is of string. Okay, and when I say list are ordered, it actually means 1 comma 2 comma 3.14 comma hello is the order of this list. So first element will be 1, 2 is the second element, 3.14 is the third element, hello is the fourth element. Okay, clear. So if I have another list which also contains these four items, okay, but in a different order, then I can say both the list are not same. Okay, order வந்து சேமா இல்லனா they are not same. அதனாலதான் we say list are ordered. Okay, so இன்னொரு listல if I have something like this, the same elements are there, but they are in different order. For example, 2 comma 3.14 comma 1 comma hello. Okay, so both these lists are not same, though their elements are same, they are not same. Why? Because they are in different order. So we say the list are ordered. Okay, so these are the important points that you have to keep in mind with respect to list. So we will move on with the discussion of each and every step. So first we'll start with how to create a list. Okay, so if I'm using a list, so list is created by placing all the elements within square brackets separated by commas. So creation of list has various ways of creating it. So we will see, I'll just show you how list can be created. There are two ways. Okay, generally we will classify them. There are two ways or two methods by which you can create a list. So I will discuss the first method and then I will discuss the second method. So first method is very simple. So if I put, I have to give a name to my list. So I'm giving the name list one. Okay, I cannot give the name list because it's a keyword. Okay, it's been used to represent a built-in function. Okay, so list one is the name that I have given to my list. So list one, if I put only square bracket, it actually means I'm trying to create an empty list. Okay, so this is an empty list which doesn't contain any elements inside it. So if I try to print this particular list, I'm showing the output in the interactive mode. Okay, so if I type list one, it will just show me open square bracket and a closed square bracket. So this actually means you have created an empty list, a list which doesn't contain anything. Suppose now, if this is going to be the case, I want to create a list. So list one is equal to, I have to give a name to my list. Then I have to give my assignment operator equal to, and then within square brackets, I have to mention my list elements. So this I can say a list of integers. Okay, all the elements are belonging to all the elements which are present inside my list are belonging to the same type. So if I print, it will print all the elements 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4. Okay, so these are the elements in my list. Okay, so now if I can also create a list element like this, okay, which contains 1 comma 3.14, which is a float, and high, which is a string. Okay, so here if you see, there are three elements. I've put a dot over here, so I have to put a comma. So there are three elements into this. Okay, there are three elements into this list. One is an integer, another one is a float, and another one is a string. So it is acceptable. So I can prove that list is a data structure which is generally used to store elements of different data types. So if I try to print this, it will print 1 comma 3.14 comma high. Okay, so list supports to store elements of different data types. And another point you have to know over here is nested list. What is the meaning of nested list? Is I am creating a list. Okay, list 3 is equal to, I told a list can contain any type of element inside it. So first one is an integer element, second one is an float element, third I am putting an string element, fourth I'm going to put another list itself inside it. So 1 comma 5. So how do I represent a list? Square bracket, enter the elements in comma separated and close it. Okay, so now I'm putting a list as an element of another list. So if I close this, I have to know whether this is acceptable. Yes, in my interactive mode, my Python interpreter is saying it is acceptable, because list is a data structure which will store any type of data inside it. So whatever sequence that you're going to learn next, all those sequences, all those data structures can act as an element inside your list. So if I print this list 3 now, it just shows me these are the elements in my list. Okay, so this is the first method by which you can create a list. Okay, so you have to give a list name followed by an equal to, and within square brackets you have to mention the elements of that list. This is one way. Another way is I can use a built-in function, or I can say it as a constructor. My list is equal to list of. Okay, so list of is a function. So what it will do is, this function, since I have not passed any value, it will create an empty list over here. So my list will be an empty list. So my list is the name of the list, equal to, you have invoked a built-in function list of. So what list function will do is, it will create an empty list and give a name my list to it. Okay, my underscore list and பேருக்கு அதை assign பண்ணிட்டு return பண்ணிடும். Okay, so it will return an empty list to my list. So when I try to find out what is present inside empty list, it will show, so what is present inside my underscore list, it will show that the list is empty. Okay, so now if I want to for example, I am putting another list, list 4 is equal to list of, I am giving list 1. Already I've created a list called list 1. So list 4 is equal to list of list 1. So now if I type list 1, sorry, list 4, I'm sorry, list 4, what happened over here? So all the elements of, for the function list, I am passing a sequence called as list 1. Okay, so what are all the elements present inside list 1? 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4. So everything get assigned to list 4 2. So when I try to type, when I typed list 4, it displayed 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4. Okay, so
Madam,
hello,
madam,
yeah,
here in the list 4, லிஸ்ட் எழுதிட்டு வந்து நீங்க ஸ்கொயர் பிராக்கெட் போடாம வந்து கர்வ் பிராக்கெட் போட்டிருக்கீங்க மேம். இது எப்படி எடுத்துக்கிச்சு அது?
list is a function. Okay, list is actually, I told this is one way of creating, நம்ம first discuss பண்ணோம்ல, this is one way of creating a list. Okay, so a list name equal to square brackets குள்ள values கொடுத்தா, okay, that is one way of creating a list. When I came over here, this is another way of creating a list. I told you this is another way of creating a list. In the another way, what you can do is, you can use a function called a built-in function. Okay, list is a built-in function which is being used to create list. Okay, இந்த ஃபங்க்ஷனோட பேரு லிஸ்ட். இந்த ஃபங்க்ஷனை யூஸ் பண்ணி நான் ஒரு புது லிஸ்ட்டை கிரியேட் பண்ணலாம். ஸோ அதுக்கு நம்ம ஃபாலோ பண்ண போற சின்டாக்ஸ் என்ன? ஃபர்ஸ்ட் லிஸ்ட் நேம் கொடுத்துடணும். ஓகே, I have to give the list name, then I have to put equal to, then I have to call this function list. So inside this brackets, if I mention a sequence, so list is actually a sequence or a data structure. I can put any data structure inside this. So if I mention a data structure, in the data structure la enna values irunducho, அத இந்த புது லிஸ்ட்டுக்கு அசைன் பண்ணிடும். Sir, is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. இங்க நான் எதுவுமே சொல்லலனா I am leaving it as an optional. I am not passing any argument to this list னா empty list create ஆகும். ஆக மொத்தம் list function உடைய work என்ன? To create a new list. Okay, it will create a new list. If you don't pass any arguments for list, it will create an empty list. If you pass a sequence for that list, it will create a list, making those elements of the sequence to be the elements of this list. Okay, so these are the two methods that you can use in order to create a list. So புரிஞ்சுதா sir?
எஸ் மேம். பட் இந்த 4 லிஸ்ட் 1ஓட வந்து பிரிண்ட் பண்ணிருக்கீங்க. 1 2 3 4 ஆல்ரெடி இருக்குதுன்னு
இல்ல
வந்துருச்சுங்க.
நான் லிஸ்ட் 4 போடுறதுக்குள்ள லிஸ்ட் 1 நாங்க டைப் பண்ணிட்டேன். திருப்பி லிஸ்ட் 4 பிரிண்ட் பண்ணி காட்டியிருக்கேன் பாருங்க. லிஸ்ட் 4ல இப்ப என்ன வேல்யூஸ் இருக்கு? 1, 2, 3, 4 இருக்கா? எப்படி அது
சரி.
அசைன் ஆச்சு? லிஸ்ட் 1ல அந்த வேல்யூஸ்
ஒன்னோட
இருந்துச்சு. அந்த வேல்யூஸ் லிஸ்ட் 4க்கு அசைன் ஆயிடுச்சு. Is it clear, sir?
எஸ் மேம்.
Okay. So these are the methods through which you will create list. Okay, so next what we are going to see is now we know how to create a list. So after creating a list, we have to proceed with the process of performing different operations over the list. Okay, so we want to perform, when I say I want to perform operations over my list, I can perform operation over my entire list, or I can also perform operation over each and every element of my list. So I have to know what are all the different ways I which I can access the elements in my list. So that is what we are going to learn next, that we are going to do with the help of list indexing. Okay, so these are the three major points that you have to remember with respect to list indexing. List indexing na ஒரு simple example நான் சொல்லிடுறேன். If I have a collection of elements like this, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. This is a collection of elements. Okay, so இந்த ஆர்டர் வச்சு என்னால வந்து என்ன சொல்ல முடியும்னா, இதுதான் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் எலிமெண்ட், இது செகண்ட் எலிமெண்ட், இது தேர்ட் எலிமெண்ட், இது ஃபோர்த் எலிமெண்ட், இது ஃபிஃப்த் எலிமெண்ட். பட் ஐ நீட் அ ரெஃபரன்ஸ். ஓகே, ஐ நீட் அன் இண்டெக்ஸ் to know that this is the first element, this is the second element, this is the third element. For example, in the group of elements நான் ஒரு லிஸ்ட்னு கன்சிடர் பண்ணேன்னு நினைச்சுக்கோங்க. இதுக்கு கண்டிப்பா ஒரு பேர் இருக்கும். ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள், லெட் மீ டேக் இட் அஸ் L1. இதோட நேம் வந்து A1 ன்னு வச்சுக்கோங்க. Okay, just I'm saying the name of this is going to be A1. This is the name of this list. So now A1 is generally used to refer the entire list. இப்போ நான் A1 print பண்ண ட்ரை பண்ணா என்ன print ஆகும்? 11 print ஆகும், 12 print ஆகும், 13 print ஆகும், 14 print ஆகும், 15 print ஆகும். 5 வேல்யூவும் print ஆயிடும். எனக்கு வெறும் ஒரே ஒரு element தான் வேணும். I just want to refer only one element, that is 14. Okay, so how do I do it? So I need a method to do it. So that method is called as indexing. Okay, so இப்போ எனக்கு ஒரே ஒரு எலிமெண்ட்டை மட்டும் தனிப்பட்ட முறையில ரெஃபர் பண்ணணும்னு தோணுச்சுன்னா, then I can do that with the help of list indexing. So the first point that you have to keep in mind is list elements are indexed starting from 0. So starting from 0 ன்னு சொன்னா இந்த first element ஓட index வந்து 0வா இருக்கும். அடுத்தது 1, அடுத்தது 2, அடுத்தது 3, அடுத்தது 4. So டோட்டலா எத்தனை elements இருக்கு லிஸ்ட்ல? 5 elements இருக்கு, but they are indexed from 0. So first element உடைய index வந்து 0. So if I want to refer my first element, how can I refer it? A1 of 0 அப்படி ஆஃப்ன்றதுக்கு இந்த ஸ்கொயர் பிராக்கெட் தான் இங்க யூஸ் பண்ணுவோம். ஓகே, A1 of 0 ன்னு நான் போட்டேன்னா that refers the element 11. A1 of 3 ன்னு நான் போட்டேன்னா that refers the element 14. A1 of 4 ன்னு போட்டேன்னா that refers the element 15. Okay, so this point you have to understand. Hope it's clear. Indexing implies what? If I want to access each and every element separately in my list, then I have to go to this process called as indexing. So in list, the element indexing starts from 0. Okay, and if you go through the second point, negative indexing is possible in Python. Okay, so negative indexing is possible in Python. So now I will show you a diagram directly. So here, if you consider, if you look into this particular example, so what we have done, we have written a list which has how many elements inside it? 5 elements inside it. So when I say index, it actually means positive index. So positive index na first element ku 0, second element ku 1, third will be given 2, 4. So after 2, this is 3, then 4. Okay, so I also told negative indexing is possible with respect to Python. Okay, so when I say negative indexing, it actually means for the last element in my list, the index value will be given as -1. Okay, then you have to reduce -2, -3, -4, -5. Okay, so this is the way through which you will give negative index to your elements in your list. So Python supports both positive indexing as well as negative indexing. Positive indexing implies it will be starting from 0 and the indexing starts from the first element. Okay, so negative indexing, if you take, it starts from -1 and the indexing starts from the last element. Okay, so you have to be clear with this. For example, if you take here, if I want to print list 1 uh, of, there are 4 elements in list 1, 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4. So if I say list 1 of 0, what it is printing, it is printing 1. So the element inside list 1 of 0 is what? 1, it is printing. So if I try to print list 1 of, what will be the index of the last element? What will be the index of the last element? So list 1 has how many elements inside it? 4 elements. So index of the last element will be 3.
3.
0, 1, 2, 3. So list 1 of 3, if I give, it will print what? It printed 4 over here. Okay. So now I can also show you negative indexing. So list, I'm sorry, 1 sec. It's not typing for me. I don't know why. So I'll create a list, a very simple list. List 1 is equal to 2 comma 3 comma 4 comma 5. I'll close it. So now I can also do negative indexing. So list 1 of -1, if I give, it will print what? List
5.
1 of -1 will print 5.
5.
So it prints 5. So negative indexing is also possible with respect to Python. So this is about indexing. So indexing is generally used to access element by element in your Python. Okay, so this is list indexing. So next, uh, we have to know in indexing itself, I already told, inside a list you can have a list as another element. Okay, இப்போ மேக்ஸ்லலாம் வந்து mathematicsல we have learned about two-dimensional, that is, you know about matrix. Okay, I think we know about matrix in mathematics. For example, I can represent a matrix like this: 1 2 1 2 3 3 4 5. So this is a matrix. Okay, a 2x3 matrix. Okay, this is, which has 2 rows in it and 3 columns in it. So I can say this as a matrix. So suppose if I want to represent a matrix in the form of a list, what I can do, matrix has 2 rows. Okay, so each and every row has 3 elements inside it. So think in this way: a matrix has, in according to this matrix, you have 2 rows inside it. Okay, 2 rows are there, and in each and every row you have 3 elements. So now if I represent this in the form of a list, how I will represent? So in this way I will represent. So I'm creating a list for that particular matrix, list 2. Okay, so என்னுடைய first set of first row இருக்க elements ஒரு list நான் mention பண்ணிடுவோம். 1 2 3. So 1 2 3 தான் என் first elements. Okay, so அந்த first matrixல இருக்கிற first row-வை இங்க நான் ஒரு லிஸ்டா இதுக்குள்ள டிஃபைன் பண்ணிட்டேன். மேட்ரிக்ஸ்ல இருக்கிற அடுத்த ரோவை இன்னொரு லிஸ்டா, இன்னொரு லிஸ்ட், இன்னொரு எலமெண்டா இந்த லிஸ்டுக்குள்ள ஆட் ஆகுது. Am I clear? Am I clear? I'm going to create a list for that matrix. So how I am going to do it? By nesting the list in two list inside another list. By nesting two list inside another list. Okay, so the matrix ஓட first row எடுத்து நான் ஒரு லிஸ்டா கன்சிடர் பண்ணி அதை ஒரு லிஸ்ட் எலிமெண்டா இந்த லிஸ்ட் 2 குள்ள இன்சர்ட் பண்றேன். அதே மாதிரி 3 4 5. This is another list. So now if you print list 2, list 2 has 2 elements inside it, and both the elements belongs to what type? List 2 has 2 elements inside it, and both the elements belong to what type?
Nested list.
Both the elements are of what type?
List of
List.
Integers.
அவ்வளவுதான். ஃபர்ஸ்ட் எலிமெண்ட்டும் ஒரு லிஸ்ட், செகண்ட் எலிமெண்ட்டும் ஒரு லிஸ்ட். ஸோ ரெண்டு லிஸ்ட்டை நான் ரெண்டு எலிமெண்டா இன்னொரு லிஸ்ட்டுக்குள்ள ஆட் பண்ணியிருக்கேன், அவ்வளவுதான். ஓகே, ஸோ நவ் ஹவு டு ஐ டூ தி இண்டெக்ஸிங் இஃப் ஐ வாண்ட் டு கெட், ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள், இந்த எலிமெண்ட்டை நான் ரெஃபர் பண்ணணும். I want to access this element. So how do I access it? So now that becomes a question over here. So the accessing is very simple. Okay. So single element இருக்கும்போது நம்ம என்ன பண்ணோம்? Single square bracket குள்ள single square bracket குள்ள single index கொடுத்தோம். ஆனா இங்க okay லிஸ்டுக்குள்ள லிஸ்ட் இருக்குன்றதுனால we need double indexing. Okay, double indexing எப்படி? How we are going to work out double indexing? List 2. Okay, so இப்போ first element யாரு? First element of this list 2 is this entire list. Okay, so இதோடைய index என்னவா இருக்கும்? இந்த entire list ஓட index என்ன?
0.
Yeah, so entire index ஓட list என்ன? 0. Okay, so list குள்ள list. So இந்த list நான் இப்ப தனியா கன்சிடர் பண்ண போறேன். இந்த list படி 1 உடைய index என்ன?
0.
Yeah, so if I put list 2 of 0 0, did I give a space over here? No. Okay, list 2 of 0 0, what it printed? 1. Is it clear? So now if I want to print 2, what I have to do? List
0 1.
list 2 of 0 1. Okay, it will print 2. If I want to print the 3 in the first list, list 2 of 0 2, it will print 3. So if I want to print all the elements of this list 1, I have to know the actual index of this list in list 2. So list 2 ல இந்த 1 2 3 உடைய index என்ன? 0. So அதுதான் first வரணும் இந்த மூணு எலிமெண்ட்டுக்கும். அதுக்கப்புறம் according to their list, what is their indexing? So according to their list, 1 takes 0, 2 takes 1, 3 takes 2. So அதை வந்து second. So இது row represent பண்ணும், இது column represent பண்ணும். So tablesல நம்ம யூஸ் பண்ற அதே cell notations தான். Rowக்கு என்ன value, columnக்கு என்ன value. Same thing is applied over here. So now if I want to print the second set of elements, I'll put, what will be the index? 1. Okay, 1 of 0 will print what? 3. In the same way, you can print 4 and 5. So this is nested. That is, if you have a list within another list, this is how you can access the elements in that list. Is it clear? This is how you can access the elements in the list. Okay, this and all, if you go through once, you will understand easily. So this is called as nested indexing. Okay, so next we will move on with the concept of list are mutable. So when I say list are mutable, it is very simple. What did I say for list are mutable? When I say list are mutable, it actually means what? When I say list are mutable, it actually means we can modify the elements. So I'll show you the example directly here. So here if you see, this you can understand easily, no need for me to work it out. So mark is a list that we have created with this following values. So when I printed marks, it would have printed all these values 80, 90, 100, 60 and 34. Okay, now what I have done in this statement, this statement actually proves that lists are mutable. That is, mark of 0 is being changed to 100. So from 80, I'm changing this value to 100. Now if I try and print, this mark will be changed to 100. Okay, so here if you see this output, when I printed for the first time, the value has been printed as 80, 90, 100, 60 and 30. When I tried after changing the mark and I tried to print, what happened? This 80 turned out to be 100 because I have done this modification. So this proves that lists are mutable. We can change the element values of the list. So 80 is being changed to 100 through this assignment statement. And again, when I try to print my list, it will print with 100. Instead of 80, 80 will be replaced by 100. Okay, so it is understandable. So next thing that we have to see with respect to list is list operators. Okay, so what kind of operations can take place with respect to list? So we will be discussing one by one. You can do list slicing, you can do list concatenation, repetition, membership, and identity. Okay, so we will discuss one by one. So I will start the discussion of list slicing. So list slicing is one of the important concept that you people should have a clarity. Okay, so to understand list slicing, I'll just give you a simple example. For example, in your list you have 10 elements. Okay, starting from 0 till 9, altogether you have 10 elements in your list. Okay, so in this list you want to refer only the elements from 1 to 5. Okay, under some situation there is a necessity for you to refer only the first 5 elements. For example, இப்போ நம்ம வந்து நம்ம கிளாஸ் ரூம்ல ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸோட சிஜிபிஏ வந்து ஒரு லிஸ்ட்ல வச்சிருக்கோம்னு நினைச்சுக்கோங்க. ஓகே, ஸோ இஃப் ஐ வாண்ட் டு செலக்ட் தி டாப் 10 alone ஃபார் அ ஸ்பெசிஃபிக் செமினார், டாப் 10ல யார் இருக்காங்களோ அந்த 10 பேரை மட்டும்தான் ஒரு செமினாருக்கு அனுப்பணும்னா என்டையர் லிஸ்ட் செலக்ட் பண்ணக்கூடாது. அந்த என்டையர் லிஸ்ட்ல இருந்து ஒரு ரேஞ்ச் ஆஃப் எலமெண்ட்ஸ் மட்டும் தான் நான் செலக்ட் பண்ணணும். இஃப் ஐ வாண்ட் டு டூ இட், தென் ஐ ஷுட் கோ டு தி ப்ராசஸ் கால்ட் அஸ் list slicing. So within a given list, okay, within a list, I want to access a specific range of elements alone. Then I go for list slicing. So the operator that is being used for list slicing is colon colon. So square bracket kulla, we will give 2 colons, colon colon. Okay, so this indicates a slicing operator. So what it actually means is, this is how the slicing takes place. நம்ம ரேஞ்ச்ல பார்த்திருக்கோம் range function. When we worked with range function, we had 3 components for range function: start, end, and step. The same thing is applicable over here. The first component of list slicing is called as start. So range எங்க இருந்து ஸ்டார்ட் ஆகுது, ஓகே, எந்த எலிமெண்ட்ல இருந்து I have to do the selection process. colon வச்சுட்டு then I have to mention the index of the end element. Okay, so இந்த ரெண்டு இடத்துலயுமே நீங்க என்ன பண்ணணும்னா, you have to give the index of the list elements. So I have to start from this index. When I say end, it will actually slice only till the element which is before this end. For example, நான் இந்த start index 0 கொடுக்கிறேன், இந்த end index 5 கொடுக்கிறேன்னு நினைச்சுக்கோங்க. It will only take the range from 0 to 4. Okay, same what we did with range, that concept is applied over here to end. Na எண்டுக்கு முன்னாடி மட்டும் தான் கன்சிடர் பண்ணும், எண்ட் எலிமெண்ட்டை கன்சிடர் பண்ணாது. ஸ்டார்ட் வந்து ஸ்டார்டிங்ல இருந்து கன்சிடர் பண்ணும். when I say start value is 0, it will take from 0, and if I put end value as 5, it will take till 5. So these are indexes. You have to mention the index of that particular element. And step is the same way. Step is actually optional. Okay, all the 3 are optional. In case we'll be discussing that too. So step is actually optional over here. Step optional na, if I'm not giving the step, it will go ahead in consecutive numbers. Okay, 0 1 2 3 4 5. na step வந்து 2 ன்னு கொடுத்தேன்னா 0 ல இருந்து 2 போகும், 2 ல இருந்து 4 போகும். It will go in that way. So same thing that we did with respect to range, அதே consideration. Step will actually decide எவ்வளோ எலிமெண்ட் ஸ்கிப் பண்ணணும். ஸ்டெப் வேல்யூ 1 இருந்ததுன்னா next consecutive elements have to be selected. If step value is 2, it means you have to leave one element and you have to move to the next element. So that is the meaning of step. Okay, so I will just tell you the different ways in which you can use your slicing operator. So slicing can be done with both negative as well as positive. So here we have a list called as list 1. Okay, I'm taking that list 1. So list 1 has how many elements inside it? 2, 3, 4, 5. You have 4 elements in your list 1. So there are 4 elements in your list 1. So now if I want to slice only the first 2 elements, okay, I want to slice only the first 2 elements. How I will do? Using my slicing operator. So starting position, first 2 element மட்டும் நான் slice பண்ணணும்னு நினைக்கிறேன். So starting element ஓட position index என்ன? What is the index of the starting element? 0. colon. Okay, I want to print first 2 elements. So what should be the end? End should be 2. Okay, so 2 சொன்னதா 0 1 அது print பண்ணும். So if I give like this, so 2, 3, this is slicing. So I'm accessing only a range of elements from my original list. So I can also do it with respect to negative index. So list 1 of, if I give -1 is the last element. Okay, so if I give -3, last 2 elements மட்டும் நான் get பண்ணனும்னா I will give this value as start from -3, okay, until -1. Okay, so I gave -3. I'm sorry, -1. I should have given -2. Okay, so list last 2 elements மட்டும் நான் பண்ணனும்னா list 1 of I have to tell -2. Okay, and then I have to put -1. This will print only one element. I'm sorry, 4 alone will be picked up. Okay, so if I want to print both the elements, then I can leave that end part. If I say -2, start from -2. Okay, list one of start from -2, then I keep a colon, then I close it. It will print. அதாவது நான் end எதுன்னு சொல்லல. So -2ல ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணி அதுக்கப்புறம் இருக்கிற எல்லா எலிமெண்ட்டையும் print பண்ணிடும். If I want to print the entire element entire list element, I can just say colon colon. So if I put colon colon, I'm not telling which is the start, I'm not telling which is the end, I am not telling the step, anything. I have not tell anything. So no slicing, all the elements will get printed over here. Okay, so next what I can do is, if I want to print the one sec. So again I'll go for a new stuff. Why it's not allowing me to do list 2 is equal to 2 comma 5. I'm showing it everything with integers alone. It will work with any kind of data type. Okay, so list of, if I put colon colon, it actually means list 2 of colon colon. It will print, what did I do, spelling mistake, list 2 of colon colon. Okay, that was a spelling mistake, so it was wrong. So it will print all the elements in my list. 2 comma 3 comma 4 comma 5 comma 6 is the list of elements in my list. It will print all the elements. Because I have not mentioned the start, there is no slicing actually taking place over here. Okay, so now list 2 போட்டாலும் சரி, list 2 square bracket open பண்ணி colon colon போட்டாலும் சரி, both will mean the same. Suppose if I want to print the list in reverse order, okay, I want to print the list in reverse order, it's enough if I say colon colon -1. Okay, so colon colon -1 will actually print this. You have to know, if I want to print my list in reverse order, okay, I can use colon colon -1. So it will print my entire list in the reverse order, 6 comma 5 comma 4 comma 3 comma 2. Okay, so this is the point that you have to know with respect to list. Similarly, if I want to mention the step, so I'm saying start as 0, okay, end as how many elements are there? 0 1 2 3 4, end as 4, and if I say the step count value as 2, so it will print only the elements 2 and 4. Okay, so step count என்றனால 3 skip பண்ணிட்டு 4 print பண்ணோம். அதுக்கப்புறம் வேற elements இல்ல, நான் கொடுத்திருக்கிற end வரைக்கும் பார்த்தா வேற elements இல்ல. So 2 4 மட்டும் print பண்ணோம். So this is the way by which we can perform slicing in list. Okay, so this, hope it's clear, list slicing. So if I give list square bracket colon colon, it will print. If I give list name square bracket colon colon, it will print the entire list. Okay, if I give list name square bracket colon colon -1, what it will do?
Reverse order.
It will print the list in the reverse order. Okay, so next we will move on with the next operation. All the other operations are very simple, so I will move on a little bit fast. If I want to concatenate two lists, okay, concatenate implies I want to perform the some adding up of one elements of one list into the into another list. ஒரு லிஸ்ட்ல இருக்கிற எலிமெண்ட்ஸை இன்னொரு லிஸ்டோட எலிமெண்ட்ஸோட ஆட் பண்ணி நான் புதுசா ஒரு லிஸ்ட்டை கிரியேட் பண்ணணும்னு நினைச்சேன்னா ஐ கேன் யூஸ் திஸ் பிளஸ் ஆபரேட்டர். ஓகே, ஸோ டு கன்கார்டினேஷன்னா வேற ஒன்றும் இல்லை. when I take hello as a string, world as a string, நான் hello பிளஸ் வேர்ல்டுன்னு கொடுத்தேன்னா இதை ரெண்டையும் கன்கார்டினேட் பண்ணி ஹலோ வேர்ல்டுன்னு சொல்லுவோம். Okay, so plus operator, if I'm using it against list or string, it will actually join those elements together. அவ்வளவுதான், வேற எதுவும் செய்யாது. பிளஸ் ஆபரேட்டரை இண்டிஜர்ஸ்க்கு போடும்போது தான் அடிஷன் நடக்கும். பிளஸ் ஆபரேட்டரை நம்ம ஏதாவது சீக்வன்ஸ்க்கு போட்டோம்னா கன்காடினேஷன் தான் நடக்கும். So the point that you have to understand over here is, if I want to list, if I want to perform list concatenation, okay, elements of one list is combined with the elements of another list and a new list is being created, then I can use this plus operator. So I will directly show the example. Okay, so what we have done over here is, it's very simple. So I have list 1, I'll create list 3, okay, which is equal to 1 comma 2 comma 3. So now I have two lists. So now what I will do is, list 1 is equal to list 2 plus list 3. So I have two lists, list 1 plus list 2. So that will create a new list. So when I try to print list 1, what will it print? It will print all the elements. அப்படியே join பண்ணும். List நீங்க போட்ட ரெண்டாவது லிஸ்ட்ல இருக்கிற elements அப்படியே to the end of the first list. So what were the elements in list 1? List 2ல என்ன elements நம்மகிட்ட இருந்துச்சு? 2 3 4 5 6. Okay, list 3ல என்ன elements இருக்கு? 1 2 3. So first list 2 எடுத்துரும், 2 3 4 5 6. அதுக்கப்புறம் list 3ல இருக்கிற elements 1 2 3 ஆட் பண்ணிரும். ஸோ எண்ட்ல தான் ஆட் பண்ணும். இந்த சார்ட்டிங்கோ ஆர்டரிங்கோ அதெல்லாம் எதுவுமே நடக்காது இங்க. ஓகே, ஸோ when I do concatenation, the second list will be added to the first list and that gets stored into the new list, that is list 1. Okay, so this is the purpose of concatenation. So next we will move to list repetition. So what is the meaning of list repetition? If I want to multiply, okay, so this will actually enable me to multiply the elements in the list. So it will enable the list elements to be repeated multiple times. இப்போ ஒரு லிஸ்ட்ல வந்து, for example, if you have elements 1 2 3, okay, so if you want to multiply these elements by 2, 1 2 3 அப்புறம் திருப்பியும் 1 2 3 உங்களுக்கு வேணும்னா, if you want 1 2 3 again to be repeated in your list, I can use this repetition. Hope I am clear. I have a list called as list 3. Okay, that is 1 2 3. So if I print list 3, what are all the elements in my list 3? 1 2 3. So again I want such set of elements to be added to my list 3. What I can do is list 3 multiplied by 2. So what happened over here? List 3 multiplied by 2 பண்ணோம்னா என்ன ஆச்சு? 1 2 3 திருப்பியும் 1 2 3 அப்படின்ற எலமெண்டா என்னோட லிஸ்டுக்குள்ள ஆட் ஆயிடுச்சு. Is it clear? Hope it's clear. So 1 2 3 is original elements in your list. When I put multiplication sign by 2, it will add the same elements. It will repeat the same elements again into my list as separate elements. So 1 2 3, again you will get 1 2 3. Okay, so this is repetition. So repetition is very simple. Repetition operator is applicable with respect to list. So next we have to see about the membership operator and the identity operator. So we know membership operator is in and identity operator is. Okay, so how it will work with respect to list? So in and in-oda purpose enna? You will find out whether a specific element is present within a list or not. Okay, so if I say 2 in list 3, what will be my result? 2 is an element. I want to find out whether it is there in the sequence list 3. Do you have 2 in list 3? Do you have 2 in list 3?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so the resultant will be true. So what it returned, membership operators actually will return true or false. Okay, and similarly you can also use this in operator in another way. So we all know how we can use an in operator in another way. Consider that I am creating a list. I am creating a new file over here. So list 1 is equal to 2 3 4 5. So now I want to print all the elements in this list. What is my operation? I want to print all the elements in my list. So if I want to print all the elements in my list, what I can do? I can put print of list 1 of 0, print of list 1 of 2. Yeah, I can use all the slicing. Okay. But generally, when I work out with problems, what I will do is I want to access each and every element using my for loop. So I can say for I in list 1. So what this will do? Initially, I will be stored with the value 2. Then I will be stored with the value 3. Then 4. Then 5. Okay. So if I execute this particular program, if I try to run this program, it asks me to save. I'll save it. Okay. .py. So now if I execute it, it gave me the result as 2, 3, 4, and 5. So each time using my in operator, I am picking an element from my list and I am printing it. Okay. So in operator can be used in for also with respect to list. So what is the meaning of is operator? So is operator is to check whether two objects are going to be same or not. Okay. So list in operator is actually used for that purpose, whether two lists are of belonging to the same object. So now again, it doesn't open. I'll put ideally again. So now I have two lists. List 1 is equal to 2 comma 3 comma 4. Okay. Then I have list 2, which is equal to 2 comma 3 comma 4. So now I'm going to check list 1 is list 2. So it will give me a false. So the point that you have to understand is list 1 is an object which is created separately, and list 2 is another object which is created separately. So obviously it means their memory location will not be same. So if I put ID of list 1, list is an object, ID of list 1, you have one address, and when I put ID of list 2, you will be having another address. So this clearly shows whenever I create a list which is of same values, when we worked with variables, the things were different. When I say A is equal to 10, when I say B is equal to 10, both of them will be pointing the object 10. But that is not the case with respect to sequence over here. So what happened with respect to list? I created list 1 with values 2, 3, 4. I created another list with a value 2, 3, 4. Okay. Though they are holding the same set of elements, they are not same. Okay. Since they are mutable, they are not same. Since they are iterable, they are not same. Since they are not same, when I say they are not same, it actually means their memory location are different. Since their memory location are different, if I apply an is operator to both the list,
Ma'am,
it will return false.
ma'am,
Ma'am, in the third line,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
forgot to
Yeah, it will also
specify list
return false
1.
only. List 1 is list. It will return false only. By mistake, I left it off. Is it clear, ma'am? List 1 is list 2 potalo. It will come false one
False.
because their
Oh,
memory addresses are different.
different.
Okay. So this is with respect to in operators. Is in and is operators. Okay, so now we will move. Still, we have two kinds of things that we have to discuss with this data structure called as list. So till now, whatever we have discussed are operations that can be performed over single element of list or a collection of list. In the same way, for this list data structure, you have a set of built-in functions and you have a set of built-in methods. Okay, so we have to discuss about this methods and built-in functions. Okay, so we have four major built-in functions in list which are being called as len, max, min, and list. So you have a question why you are saying built-in functions and methods. Okay, so built-in functions and methods ரொம்ப சிம்பிளா ஒரு டிஃபரன்ஸ் சொல்லலாம், ப்ராக்டிக்கலா ஒரு டிஃபரன்ஸ் சொல்லலாம். ஸோ built-in functions நீங்க first understand பண்ணிக்கோங்க. Len of list. So len of list is used for what purpose? To calculate the length of the list. Length of the list implies how many elements are there in this list. So built-in functions nale first built-in function உடைய name call பண்ணுவோம். Okay, and then I will open and close the curly braces. Within that, I have to give the list name. Okay, so now we will work it out. இந்த நாலு ஃபங்க்ஷனும் ரொம்ப சிம்பிள் ஃபங்க்ஷன் தான். இந்த ஃபங்க்ஷன் ஏற்கனவே நம்ம பார்த்துட்டோம். List is used for what purpose? List function is used for what purpose? List function is used for what
Sequence.
purpose? To
Sequence.
கேக்கல சார்.
Sequence.
இல்ல இல்ல அங்க இருக்கிற ஆன்சர் வேணாம். நான் முதல்ல உங்களுக்கு என்ன சொல்லி கொடுத்தேன்? லிஸ்ட் ஃபங்க்ஷன் என்ன பர்பஸ்க்காக யூஸ் பண்றோம்? For
To
what?
create a list.
To create a list. அவ்வளவுதான். That's enough. List function is generally used to create a list. You can create an empty list or you can pass on a sequence and create a new list. So all the other things are very understandable. I can, if I want to find out the length of a list, I can use len function. Maximum element in the list can be found using my max function. Minimum element in the list can be found in the min. அதாவது நம்ம இதுக்கெல்லாம் ஒரு தனியா நம்மளே கோட் எழுதாம லிஸ்ட்ல ஒரு 5 எலிமெண்ட் இருக்குன்னா எல்லா எலிமெண்ட்டையும் கம்பேர் பண்ணி இதுதான் மேக்ஸிமம் அப்படின்னு கண்டுபிடிக்கிறதுக்கு இட்ஸ் நாட் நெசசரி ஃபார் அஸ் டு ரைட் அ கோட். ஓகே, this code is already available as a built-in function. If I want to find out the maximum, if I want to find out the minimum, if I want to find the length of the list, everything is available already. The function is already available. So consider we have two lists over here. So if I say len of list 1, it will be what? How many elements are there in list 1? 3 elements are there. So len of list 1 will give me the number 3. So if I want to find out the maximum element in my list, what is my maximum element? My maximum element is 4. So here 4 will be returned. So max is a built-in function which will help you to in the max and built-in function ஒரு list நீங்க pass பண்ணீங்கன்னா அந்த listல இருக்கிற elementsல which is the maximum element it will tell. In the same way for min element, for min function, if you pass a list, it will tell which is the minimum element. So 2, 3, 4, 2 the minimum element. It will find and tell that is the minimum element. Maximum element it will find, and it is possible to find out your len. Okay. So in the மூணு built-in function நீங்க என்ன பண்ணுவீங்க? Function name குள்ள you have to pass on the list. Function name in round brackets you have to pass on a list. So these are the built-in functions with respect to list. Similarly, you have a set of built-in methods. Okay, so now we have to move on with the discussion of built-in methods. Okay, so built-in methods எப்படி நம்ம யூஸ் பண்ணுவோம்னா list name. இப்போ I'll just give you. I have to tell my list name. For example, my list name is going to be list 1. Okay, list name என்ன list 1. In the methods நான் யூஸ் பண்ணணும்னா if I want to, all these methods are going to be functions only. They're going to do some specific task. They are already present. So in the task, for example, if I want to sort my list, okay, I can use this function called as method called as sort. Clear? If I want to copy this list, I can use this method called as copy. If I want to insert a new element into my list, I can use this method called as insert. So that these methods are actually nothing but functions which are going to be performing a specific task over your list. So if I want to manipulate my list, I can do with the help of these methods. But how do I access these methods? I have to give my list name. I have to keep a dot operator followed by the name of the method. So this is the biggest difference between the built-in functions and methods. Actual difference, அதாவது நான் practically பார்க்குற difference சொல்றேன். Actual difference நான் சொல்லணும்னா oops concepts உங்களுக்கு தெரிஞ்சாதான் you will understand what I'm saying. So I'm not getting into all those stuff. So understand the difference between function and methods. Function நீங்க என்ன பண்ணுவீங்க? Function nameக்குள்ள list பாஸ் பண்ணுவீங்க. அது function. Methodனா நீங்க என்ன பண்ணணும்? List பேரை கொடுத்துட்டு dot operator வச்சுட்டு then you have to mention the method name. Then only it becomes a method. So why function method are different? You can understand it only if you know object oriented concepts. Otherwise you cannot understand it. Okay, so list 1 dot append. In the same way I can use all these methods. So we will discuss all these methods one by one. These are very simple to understand. Okay, so we'll move on. So first I will discuss the 3 methods which are related to each other, which are going to do the same process but a little bit in a different way. So append, extend, insert. இந்த மூணுக்குமே மீனிங் கிட்டத்தட்ட ஒன்னேதான். ஓகே, அப்பெண்ட்னா எங்கேயோ ஆட் பண்ண போறேன், எக்ஸ்டெண்ட்னா எதையோ ஆட் பண்ணி எக்ஸ்டெண்ட் பண்ண போறேன், இன்சர்ட்னாலும் எங்கேயோ எதையோ ஆட் பண்ணி லிஸ்ட் பெருசாக்க போறேன். So we have to consider all these 3 with respect to list. So if I want to add element to my list, I can do it with append, extend and insert. That's it. If whenever I want to add an element to my list, I can do it with the help of these three methods called as append, extend, and insert. But they have some sort of difference between them. So if we try to discuss about append method will always add an element or a sequence to a list at the end. அவ்வளவுதான். Okay, for example, இப்போ நம்ம கிட்ட ஏற்கனவே என்ன லிஸ்ட் இருக்கு? லிஸ்ட் 1 இருக்கு. So list 1 print பண்ணா, I'm sorry, list 1 2 3 4. I will open it from the first. It will be easy for you to see. So I have list 1. So I have all these elements in list 1, 2 6 7 8. These are the elements in my list 1. So now if I want to add an element at the end, if I want to add an element, I can use the list1 dot append method. List1 dot append of, for example, the element. I have to pass the element. என்ன element நான் add பண்ணணும்னு நினைக்கிறேன்? 10 என்ற element add பண்ணணும்னு நினைக்கிறேன். So I have to mention that element 10 over here. So now if I type list1, what it will print? The element 10 is appended to the end of the list. Okay, so now consider I have another list. List 2 is equal to, for example, I have a list 2 is equal to 9 0. Simply I'm giving. Okay, so now if I want to append this list itself as an element to my list 1, then list 1 dot append of list 2. So what will actually happen over here? List 2 la enna irukku? That's it. 2 6 7 8. Venkatesh sir, thank you. 6 6 7 8 10 list 1 நான் இப்ப print பண்ணா 9 0 ஒரு single list எடுத்து அதை ஒரு single element append பண்ணும். Is it clear? So using your append method, you can append elements to the end of the list. Okay, so single element append பண்ணலாம், இல்ல ஒரு சீக்வென்ஸையும் append பண்ணலாம். சீக்வென்ஸ்க்கு எக்ஸாம்பிள் தான் நான் என்ன கொடுத்திருக்கேன், ஒரு லிஸ்டையே நான் கம்ப்ளீட்டா append பண்ணலாம். ஸோ append பண்ற கான்செப்டே சிங்கிள் எலமெண்டா தான் அது append ஆகும். நீங்க என்ன டேட்டா டைப் கொடுத்தாலும் it will be taken as a single element and it will be appended to the list. Okay, so now we have to know what is the meaning of extend. Okay, so now I am creating. So 9 0 is a list. So list 2 is 9 0. List 1 is what? 2 6 7 8 10 எத்தனை? ஃபர்ஸ்ட் 5 ஐட்டமும் இன்டிஜர், அடுத்த ஐட்டம் வந்து ஒரு லிஸ்ட். இப்போ இந்த லிஸ்ட் 2ல இருக்கிற 9 0, ஓகே, அத சிங்கிள் எலமெண்டா if I want to add to list 1. Okay, so let me make something like this. List 1 dot extend. If I'm using extend of list 2. So what is the difference between this statement and this statement? You will understand now. Okay, so extend use பண்ணனா, இப்போ list 1 நான் print பண்ண try பண்ணனா, what happened? You understood. When I tried to append list 1, append list 2 to list 1, what happened? This entire list was considered as a single element and it was appended. Okay, but what is the meaning of extend? If I want to combine the elements of list 2 into list 1. Okay, list 2 la எத்தனை elements இருந்து? ரெண்டு element இருந்துச்சு, 9 and 0. So if I want to combine them into my list 1, then I have to use extend. Okay, so the point that you have to understand over here is at what stage you have to use append and what stage you want to use extend is very important. So extend எங்க யூஸ் பண்ணுவோம்? ஒரு சீக்வென்ஸ்ல இருக்கிற செட் ஆஃப் எலமெண்ட்ஸ் ஒரு சிங்கிள் எலமெண்டா இன்னொரு லிஸ்டுக்குள்ள நான் மூவ் பண்ணணும்னு நினைச்சேன்னா I have to use extend. Okay, but if I want to move that as a single sequence, then I have to use append. Is it clear? This is the difference between extend and append. Now you have another work, that is இதெல்லாம் வந்து எண்ட்ல மட்டும்தான். appendனாலும் சரி extendனாலும் சரி, the element will be added to the end of the existing list. But now if you want to insert it at a specific position, if I want to insert an element to a specific position, for example, I have an element to be inserted at the first position. அதாவது 0th position the index. Okay, so 0th position if I want to insert an element called as high, then I have to use insert. Okay, so if I want to perform an adding of an element specific to an index, then I have to use insert. So now if I print list 1, what happened? High become the first element. ஏன்னா நான் இங்க என்ன சொல்லிருக்கேன், 0th positionல high insert பண்ணுங்க அப்படின்னு சொல்லிருக்கேன். So in 0th position high will get inserted. So this is about append, insert and append, insert, extend methods. So next you have pop, remove. Okay, so pop and remove, the name itself clearly states if you want to delete an element from the list, you can go for these two methods. So pop is used to remove the last element. Pop use panningana you won't pass any argument. Okay, so here if you see list 2 la in the elements irukku, so list 2 dot pop off na kuduthena, it will always delete the last element. Which is the last element in the list that will get popped and it will be shown and it will be deleted from your list. Okay, and if in the case of remove, what it actually means is you have to specify which element you want to delete. Okay, so which element you want to delete. So here in this case, this is my list elements 1 4 5 7. So now pop use பண்ணதுனால 7 remove ஆயிருச்சு. So list elements மீதி என்ன இருந்திருக்கும், 1 4 5 6 மட்டும்தான் இருந்திருக்கும். இப்போ நான் remove யூஸ் பண்ணியிருக்கேன். removeக்கு நான் என்ன argument pass பண்றேன், the element that you want to remove, not the index. Which is the element that you want to remove, you have to mention that element. So I have told I want to remove 5. So what happened to list 2? 5 was being removed. Okay, using pop 7 was being removed. Using remove 5 was being removed, and when I tried to print the list, it became 1 4 6. So pop and remove are being used for the same purpose. You want to remove the element from the list. Okay, so pop na last element da remove பண்ணும். remove வந்து எந்த element remove பண்ணனும் நீங்க நினைக்கிறீங்களோ அதை mention பண்ணனும். And reverse is very simple. If I want to reverse a given list, okay, so list 2 original என்னவா இருந்துச்சு, இந்த example பார்த்தா தெரியும், it was 1 4 6. Now if I want to reverse that list, I want to change the order of that list in a reversible manner, I can use the function called as reverse. So in the function என்ன பண்ணும், அப்படியே அந்த list reverse பண்ணிடும். So 6 வந்து first element ஆயிடும், 4 வந்து second element ஆயிடும், 1 வந்து third element ஆயிடும். So now if I print and see list 2, what happened, 6 4 1. So it will completely reverse all the elements in your list and the last element becomes the first and it goes on. This is the purpose of reverse. Okay, so next you have copy.
Previous slide, ma'am.
Yeah.
When we are trying to remove a particular element,
Yeah.
If list happens to have same
It will
element,
remove the occurrence of the first element.
okay, ma'am.
Yeah. So next is copy, count and index methods. Okay, so copy, count. Copy is for the purpose of copying the content of one list and storing that into another list. So we know what is the meaning of copy. Okay, so copy is very simple. ஒரு லிஸ்டோடைய elements இன்னொரு லிஸ்ட்டுக்கு நான் காப்பி பண்ண ட்ரை பண்ணா, that is called as copying. So copy function is used for that purpose. Okay, and count is also very simple. Count method is used to count how many times a specific element exists in a list. For example, in your list you have element 5 existing 5 times. Element 5 வந்து for example 5 times வேணா 4 times present ஆயிருக்குன்னா count of 5 அப்படின்னு நான் பாஸ் பண்ணா it will give me the result 4 because element 5 is happening how many times inside my method, 4 times it is happening. Okay, not inside my method, I'll show you. I'll take a list. Okay, so I'll show it directly. List 3 is equal to 2 2 3 4 6 6. Okay, so now if I say list 3 dot count of, I am putting 2. So what is count of 2? How many times count is present in 2 is present in that list? 2 times. So it will give count of 2 as 2. So similarly, list 3 dot count of 6. It will give me 2. So 6 is also existing 2 times, so it will return how many times a specific element is present in my list. That is the purpose of count. If we go for copy to copy the elements of one element, sorry, copy the elements of one list into another list. So இப்போ இந்த கேஸ்ல வந்து list 3 dot, I'll put list 3 dot, what is that? I'll create two list. List 1 is equal to one empty list. I'm just changing it. List 2 is equal to 2 comma 3 comma 4. So if you want to copy the elements of list 2 dot, list 1 dot copy of list 2. Okay, what did I do? Copy takes no, I'm sorry. One sec. Okay. It will return. Okay, these will actually return values. Oh my God. One sec. So I have two lists. Okay, so list 1, I will create list 1, 2 comma 3 comma 4. So now I want to copy the elements of this into list 2. So list 2 is equal to list 1 dot copy. So what happens? All the elements of list 1 will get copied to list 2. So if I print list 2, so it will show 2 comma 3 comma 4. So you can have a question that, ma'am, is equal to potale work ahundane? Yes, it will work. If I put list 3 is equal to list 1. So now if I print list 3, so list 1 value is getting copied into list 3. Now let me do one work. List 3 dot append of 5. So if I print list 3, 2 comma 3 comma 4 comma 5. Okay. Now if I print list 1, what has happened over here? This is called as shallow copy. Shallow copy actually means the original value is also getting disturbed. Okay. So original list yaru list 1. List 1 oda value தான் list 3 ல copy பண்ண. இப்ப list 3 க்கு நீ எந்த modification நீங்க பண்ணாலும் that will get updated to list 1. Okay, but the shallow copy will, sorry, in the copy function use பண்ணி நம்ம பண்ற copy வந்து it will not happen so. Am I clear? If I use equal to and if I perform a copying process, what happens whenever I make an updation to the new list, that will get reflected in the old list also, the original list also. Okay, but if I'm using a copying process, through my copy method, இந்த ப்ராசஸ் நடக்காது. இப்போ நான் லிஸ்ட் 2ல என்ன அப்பெண்ட் பண்ணாலும், இப்போ லிஸ்ட் 2 டாட் append of 8, and if I print list 2, it will say 2 comma 3 comma 4 comma 8. If I print list 1, it will say 2 comma 3 comma 4 comma 5. So 8 இங்க ஆட் ஆகியிருக்கா? இங்க ஆட் ஆகல. So original list affect பண்ண கூடாதுன்னா you have to go for copy function. Okay, otherwise you can go for equal to function. That's enough. And next you have your index method. So index method actually returns the index of an element. Okay, so a list, இப்போ இந்த example எடுத்துக்கிட்டீங்கன்னா list 5 dot index of 5. So 5 is the element. I want to find out its index. எங்கிட்ட 3 5 இருக்கு. So யார் first occurrence அவங்களோட index return பண்ணும். So அவங்க index என்ன? 0 1 2 3 4 5. So 5 is being returned. Okay, so
மேடம்
these are the, yeah,
இப்போ நம்ம ஈக்குவல் டு யூஸ் பண்ணோம் அப்படின்னாக்க அந்த ரெண்டு லிஸ்ட்டுக்கும் சேம் அட்ரஸ் இருக்குமா? மெமரி அட்ரஸ்.
we'll check it. That's it. ID of list 1, and what was that? ID of
லிஸ்ட் 3.
3. I gave ID of list 3. Obviously, since their memory location are same,
சரி,
the
ஓகே மேம்.
reflection happens. Okay, so equal to use பண்ணும்போது they will be defined with same memory location. So dot copy use பண்ணும்போது their memory locations will be different. Okay, Shall I move on with next? So already we are running out of time. I've taken half an hour. I'm going to take half an hour of your class, I think. Sort is very simple. If I want to sort a list of elements, okay, இப்போ என்னுடைய லிஸ்ட்ல நான் இது டைரக்டா இதெல்லாம் நீங்களே ஒர்க் அவுட் பண்ணி பார்க்கலாம். 7, 5, 2, 1 and 8 are the elements given in your list. Okay, so if I want to sort it, sort implies what? In ascending order. 1, 2, 5, 7, 8 எனக்கு ஆன்சரா வேணும்னா sort function யூஸ் பண்ணிக்கலாம். So this is all the elements in your list are belonging to the same type. So here also, if you see, all the elements are of type string. Okay, hi, hello, apple, orange, oats. Okay, so even ordering actually FD nadakum when all the elements in your list are going to be strings. How sorting actually takes place is the capital letter will come first. Okay, all the strings which are starting with capital letters will be ordered alphabetically. Then only the elements of small letters will be ordered. In the point you have to keep in mind, all the elements starting with capital letter will be alphabetically ordered first, and then only the elements which starts with small letter will be ordered. And next point that you have to see over here is in the list in the list you have items of different data types. Okay, so you have integers as well as you have string. So for this kind of list you cannot apply sort function. For this kind of list you cannot apply sort function. It will say, it will throw an error. Okay, not supported between instance of int and string. So this particular list is having integer as well as string inside it. So when you have different data types into your list, you cannot apply sort function. When you have same data type, you can apply sort function. If you have different data types, you cannot apply sort function. And clear is just to empty your list. So clear function use பண்ணி லிஸ்ட்ல ஏற்கனவே values இருந்து அந்த லிஸ்ட் empty ஆக்கணும் நீங்க நினைச்சீனா list 8.clear ன்னு கொடுத்துட்டீங்கன்னா that list will actually get emptied. Okay, so these are the methods that we have discussed. So I'll just discuss a very simple program related to the ஒரு program மட்டும் discuss பண்றேன். ஒரு 5 minutes we'll finish within that. So write a program to count the number of strings, okay, in a list where the string length is 2 or more than the first and the string length is 2 or more and the first and last character are same from the given list of strings. இப்போ the question is very simple. Input will be what? You will be given with a list of strings. Okay, so list, they will give you a list and that list will be containing elements which belong to the same data type, that is called as string. Now what I have to do is I have to tell how many strings which possess a specific constraint. இங்க எக்ஸாம்பிள் கொடுத்திருக்காங்க, இதான் list of strings. Output என்ன கேட்டிருக்காங்க, they are asking you to count a set of strings. What is the constraint which defines that set of strings? Na எந்த ஸ்ட்ரிங்குக்கெல்லாம் லென்த் வந்து மோர் தென் 2 இருக்கு. ஒரு லிஸ்ட் கொடுத்திருக்காங்க, அந்த லிஸ்ட்ல எந்த ஸ்ட்ரிங்குக்கெல்லாம் லென்த் வந்து மோர் தென் 2 இருக்கும் அந்த ஸ்ட்ரிங்கையும் இன்னொரு constraint, second constraint you have to consider. What is the second constraint? அந்த stringல first character, second character, first character and last character, it has to be same. இப்போ இந்த எக்ஸாம்பிள் எடுத்துக்கிட்டீங்கன்னா இந்த 4 ஸ்ட்ரிங்குமே, all these 4 strings will actually satisfy your first constraint because everyone's length are going to be 3. Okay, எல்லாரோட லென்த்தும் இந்த கேஸ்ல 3 தான். So it is more than 2. So all the 4 strings will satisfy this constraint. What is my second constraint? Their first character and last character should be same. I have to count only those strings. அப்படி பார்க்கும்போது எந்த ரெண்டு string மட்டும் satisfy பண்ணும்? எந்த strings will this satisfy? First character is A, second character is C. So disqualified. First character is X, last character is Z. So disqualified. First character is A, last character is A. Satisfying. So accepted. Count 1 over here. So inga first character, last character both are same. So accepted. Count 2. So in the idukku program ku output enna venum? ABA and 1 to 1 avங்களுடைய count வந்து 2. So expected result will be 2 for this. Okay, am I clear? So you will be given a list of strings. In that list of strings, you have to find out the strings which are having a length more than 2 and their first and their last character should be same. And the set of strings oda count namala print பண்ண சொல்றாங்க. So I will directly explain it with this program. So type பண்ண ரொம்ப நேரம் ஆகும், அதனால நேரடியா explain பண்றேன். So first நம்ம இங்க என்ன பண்ணிருக்கோம், ஒரு empty list create பண்ணிக்கிட்டோம். Okay, empty list create பண்ணிட்டு, that is what we are going to do over here is we are going to get the input from the keyboard. The entire list is going to be got as input from the keyboard. Okay, so the first input that I get over here is enter the number of strings in the list. So how many elements have to be present in the list is being got as a value. So in the case la enna, for example in the example ku enna kuduthirpanga value 4 nu kuduthirpanga, adha na edukulla store பண்றேன், n என்ற variable குள்ள store பண்றேன். So n value will be 4. Okay, so now what I have to do, I have to get 4 elements as input from the keyboard. Okay, so on the 4 elements of what data type, they are going to be string. Clear? So I am running out a for loop to get the inputs from the keyboard. Okay, so I oda value should lie between what range? 0 la irundhu 3 varaikkum. So first element 0 nu solva, second element 1, first 1 index, just indexing 2 and 3. So altogether this for loop will get executed how many times? 4 times. For loop 4 times தான் execute ஆகணும், ஏன்னா எனக்கு 4 strings input வாங்கணும். Okay, so I am giving the ranges 0, n. N value நம்ம கேஸ்ல என்ன? 4. So when I come in for the first time, I am getting an input from the keyboard. So what is the input that I will get? ABA, ABC அப்படின்ற input நான் get பண்ணுவேன். Get பண்ணிட்டு நான் என்ன பண்றேன்? I need a list. Okay, so I need to append this string into my list. So what I'm doing, I'm using my append function and I'm adding that into my list. So list1 dot append of str. Okay, so now again I value becomes 1. I வந்து 0 முடிஞ்சிச்சு, I இப்போ 1 ஆகும். 1 ஆன பிறகு திருப்பி இன்னொரு string input வாங்குவீங்க, அதை list 1க்கு append பண்ணுவீங்க. So my second string will be got and it will be appended. Then my third string will be got, it will be appended. And then my fourth string will be got, it will be appended. Okay, then we will come out of our for loop. For loop will become false. We'll come out of this for loop. ஏன்னா 3 value தான். Sorry, 4 value தான், 4 string we have got. We will come out of our for loop. After coming out of for loop, just for reference, we are just printing that list. So list print பண்ணும்போது என்ன print ஆகும்? ABC square bracket குள்ள இந்த இது அப்படியே print ஆகும், இந்த formatல print ஆகும். So these are the elements of my list. Now what I have to do, I have to take each and every element. Okay, I have to take each and every element and I have to find out whether they satisfy those two constraints. What are those two constraints? Length is more than 2 and first and last character are same. So adukku again I have to write a for loop. So this for loop எனக்கு ரிசல்ட்டா தேவை வந்து count. So count 0 னு initialize பண்ணிக்கிறேன். So in this for loop what I am doing, I am taking each and every element of list 1. Okay, so first I will take ABC. So ABC will be placed inside str1. So உங்களுக்கு இன்னொரு விஷயம் ஞாபகப்படுத்திக்கிறேன், string is also a data structure. String is a sequence, it is also a data structure. So string also supports this len function. Okay, so len of அந்த string, இப்போ str1 ல first என்ன element வரும்? str1 ல first என்ன element வரும்? A B C வந்து ஸ்டோர் ஆகும். So இப்போ len of ABC போட்டனா len of ABC will be equal to 3. Okay, so now what I am doing, len of ABC I have found. After finding out len of ABC, what is the condition that I am checking over here? Sorry, what is the condition I am checking over here? I have to find out whether the first element is equal to the, sorry, first character is equal to the last character. So நம்ம அதே indexing concept தான் stringலையும் follow பண்ணுவோம். str of 1 of 0 is equal to str of len 1 minus 1. So நம்மளுக்கு நல்லாவே தெரியும், the index of A will be 0, index of B will be 1, index of C will be 2. Is it clear? 0, 1, 2. But total number of length will be 3. Okay, so 3 minus 1 gives me 2. So str1 of 2 implies what? The last character, and str of 0 implies the first character. So both the characters are compared. Okay, so if both these characters are equal and I'm using my AND operation and this len1 value is greater than 2, then I will increment my counter value. Okay, so this operation, this condition should be checked for each and every element of your list. So this if condition will be true for which strings? This if condition will be true for which strings? I'm posting you a question, you can answer. This if condition will become true for your first string.
Yes.
ABC ki true aguma in the if condition. Hello, am I audible? No, it will not be true. XYZ ki true aguma.
No.
No. Okay, because the first condition fails. ABA ki true aguma.
Yes.
Yes, it will be true because the first condition also becomes true. Second condition will also become true. அப்ப என்ன ஆயிடும்? Counter will get incremented. So initial counter ஓட value என்ன? 0. So 0 plus 1 becomes 1. Then I move to this string. Again, its length is greater than 2. First two characters are same. So again the counter gets incremented. So it becomes true. So I will finish this for loop. I will come out and print the counter value which is equal to 2. Okay. In the same way, I have written another program, so which you go through by yourself, and if you have doubt, kindly ask me or your laboratory teachers. So similar to these, whatever that we have learned in today classes, you can use those functions and methods, okay, and those concepts into the program that has been given in your today's laboratory session. So read the question. The questions are very simple. You can understand it and you can easily solve it. Okay. So if you have any doubts, you can ask me. Otherwise, you can move on with your laboratory session. Thank you. So InfyTQ portal possible work out this exercise 18. Thank you. Attendance Bhuvan sir has already shared. I saw he has already shared the link. Thank you. If you have any doubts, feel free to ask